Good morning. My name is Jenny Hobbs, and I serve as the president on your DuPage UU Church Board of Trustees. We want to welcome everyone this morning to our open and inclusive virtual community. As Unitarian Universalists, we hold that there are many spiritual paths to truth and meaning and pledge to support one another as we explore these paths. We are so glad that you were able to find us and join us for our live stream service today. Please check the church website at www.dupageuchurch.org for updates. If you search under DuPage UU Church on Facebook, you will find a number of ways to be in community with us as well. Please join us today for virtual coffee hour after the service. The Zoom link is in the order of service and on the members tab of our website. You may join us around 11:30 a.m. and at 11:45 we will break into small groups of 4 or 5 people chosen at random. Chat with old friends or make new ones. We hope to see you there.
Thank you, Vera. Good morning. I want to wish a happy Mother's Day to all the mothers who are here and all of the mothers who are participating in our service from home, all the mothers in your lives, all the mothers in our congregation. With new growth on this springtime day, and with all of the children in our lives, we are reminded of mothers everywhere, our own and others, who sought peace and harmony, who taught us right from wrong, who encouraged us on our way through life. This morning, we honor all of the mothers in our lives. Blessed be. Our chalice lighting this morning is going to be offered by Ellie. And our little candle went out. Here we go. There you go, sorry.
We light this chalice for mothers and mothering, to celebrate those who have taken on the task of nurturing a young one. Baby child, or youth into adulthood. We celebrate those who have nourished the light of truth and compassion in growing minds and hearts. We celebrate those who have committed time, money, and energy to the growth of others in the world. We light this chalice to celebrate and hold dear this flame of love.
Thank you for helping us with that, Ellie. I'd like to invite you now to join your voices in song. Our opening hymn is We Are. It is 1051 in the Teal Hymnal.
For each child that's born, a morning star rises and sings to the universe who we are. For each child that's born, a morning star rises and sings to the universe who we are. We are our grandmother's prayers, and we are our grandfather's dreamings. We are the breath of our ancestors. We are the Spirit of God. We are mothers of courage and fathers of time. We are daughters of dust and the sons of great visions. We're sisters of mercy and brothers of love. We are lovers of life and the builders of nations. We're seekers of truth and keepers of faith. We are makers of peace and the wisdom of ages. We are our grandmother's prayers, and we are our grandfather's dreamings. We are the breath of our ancestors. We are the Spirit of God. For each child that's born, a morning star rises and sings to the universe who we are. For each child that's born, a morning star rises and sings to the universe who we are.
Our spoken affirmation. Love is the spirit of this church, and service its law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another.
From all who dwell below the skies, let songs of hope and faith arise. Let peace, goodwill on earth be sung, through every land, by every tongue.
It is time to gather. Today is Mother's Day, and it's also called Mama's Day, in honor of all the colors, roles, and diversity of mamas and all the hard work that they do. Sometimes it's easy to think of only one kind of Mother's Day, the one described by all the greetings cards that are available for Mother's Day. But as you use, we recognize that there are all kinds of mothering and all kinds of folks who mother. Mother's Day is a time to remember how mothers symbolize love. It's also a time to remember all the people who care and love. Here in our congregation, we celebrate all kinds of mothers, and we celebrate all kinds of welcoming. So today's story is In Our Mother's House by Patricia Polacco. When my mothers told me about how they brought me home to live with them shortly after I was born, their eyes would shine and glisten, and they'd grin from ear to ear. Then they'd both get tears in their eyes when they tell me what it was like to hold me in their arms for the very first time. 3 years after I was born, my brother Will came to us. He was so tiny, just 3 days old. Then there was Millie. She became part of our family when she was 2 months old, 3 years after Will had come. Our mothers were so different from each other that all of us often wondered how they found each other at all. Mima was short and stout. Her family was Italian, so she loved to cook, and she loved to sew upstairs on a noisy old machine. Mima was a pediatrician, and whenever any of us got sick, she always knew exactly what to do to make us feel better. Marmee was tall and thin. She could fix just about anything and organized everything. She made lists, posted chores on the refrigerator, and kept the house so clean and tidy. We used to kid her that if we got up in the middle of the night to go to the bathroom, she'd make our beds before we could climb back into them. Marmee was a paramedic who rode in an ambulance. Whenever there was any kind of emergency, she always remained calm and took charge. Our mothers loved to laugh. Mima's whole body shook when she laughed. Marmee laughed almost silently, but she'd laugh so hard that she'd practically fall down and go limp. Our mother's house was always alive with music, all kinds. Sometimes our mothers would put an old rock and roll or swing records on and get all of us to dance with them. We lived in a big old brown shingle house on Woolsey Street in Berkeley, California, that was set back from the street. When we walked into our mother's house, the first thing we saw was the staircase. All of us slid down the banister. Once, Will was sliding so fast he couldn't stop at the bottom, and he flew off and took the finial with him. The most favored place for us kids was the sunroom above the carport. That is where all of our toys lived, and it was where we played dress-up and where every Halloween costume we wore began. No store-bought costumes for us. Marmee and Millie designed them, and Mima would help us sew them. One year, we went as wild animals. Hardly any of our neighbors recognized us. That is, except for Miss Lochner. She knew us all right. She glared at us when she opened the door, and she glared at our mothers too. Her kids came running and were really excited to see us, but Mrs. Lochner turned her back and shut the door. "What's the matter with her?" Will blurted out, but our mothers said nothing and continued down the block. Even so, it was one of the best Halloweens we'd ever had. We even won the Claremont Avenue costume contest that year. One of the best things about our mother's house was the tree house that we built in the backyard. Practically the entire neighborhood helped us. It all started with Will, who, like Marmee, was always building things. One Saturday, he found some plans for a treehouse in a magazine and went to her. It took several weekends to finish, but the Saturday that we did finish it, everyone stood in a circle around the tree. Marmee and Mima broke a bottle of soda over the door jamb and named the treehouse Thistle House. That night, all of us kids got to sleep there. Even the Lochner kids were invited, but their parents came and got them. They barely spoke to us, just pulled them down the driveway. They just plain don't like us, I guessed. I couldn't quite understand why. We always try to be respectful and friendly the way our mothers taught us to be. The kitchen in our mother's house was the center of everything that was happening in our household. The kitchen doorway was where us kids got measured each year. Mima and Marmee's handwriting is still there even now. And all of our family holidays began in the kitchen. Our grandparents, aunts, uncles, and cousins usually came for the weekend. Our Italian grandpa, our Nano, was in charge of cooking. We loved gnocchi. At our table, we didn't only eat, though. Marmee and Mima made sure of that. Everyone talked about everything: politics, sports, music, and art. Their voices got louder and louder, and opera was always playing in the background. And then they'd all burst into laughter that shook the table. Nana would pound his fist and laugh the loudest. And what I loved most about our family was that we could all speak our hearts. We never measured words. After dinner, all of us kids would sit on the stairs with our grandparents. This is when they'd tell us about when they were young in the old country. It was the best part of the day, and Marmee and Mima would listen in and smile. One of the niftiest things that happened in our neighborhood was the Woolsey Street Block Party. Marmee organized it. It became a tradition. And for the first one, Millie and I made all the invitations by hand, and Mima took us around to deliver them door to door. Everyone was invited. And when we stopped at the Lochner's house, their mother glared at us, the way she always did. "Why doesn't that lady like us, Mima?" I asked my mother. And she just smiled at me and hugged me. "I like you, baby," she said, and we went on our way. The day of our big block party arrived. Each of the houses on the street had to invent some sort of game in their front yard. And I think our family had the best game of all, a miniature golf course. Will, Marmee, and I put it together. We lashed together old rain gutters with traps and obstacles that had to be putted around in order to get to the end, a flower pot buried to the top. It was Marmee's great idea. "Aren't we all something?" Mima said when she saw our food court. What she meant was that everyone on our street was so different. So the Mardicians brought stuffed grape leaves and ground lamb. The Polos brought spanakopita and Greek salads. The Abdullahs brought hummus and tabbouleh. Nano made a huge pot of spaghetti and fried schnitzel. The Watanabes brought sushi, which I liked a lot, but Mima passed it up for fried clams and crawdads and corn on the cob, which the Barbers had made. At the end of the day, when everyone was cleaning up and getting ready to sit in our backyard and just talk, Mima looked up to see Mrs. Lochner coming down the street. The Lochners had been invited but hadn't come. She planted her feet squarely in front of our mothers. "I don't appreciate who you are," she snarled at Mima and Marmee. Will and Millie came running up. I froze where I was. Mrs. Lochner wheeled and stalked off. "What's the matter with her, Mama? What's the matter with her?" Millie kept saying. All the neighbors closed in on us. "She is full of fear, sweetie. She's afraid of what she cannot understand. She doesn't understand us," Mima said quietly. "There seems to be no love in her heart either," whispered Marmee. The neighbors agreed, and one by one they hugged our mothers. Then they all stayed and talked until late that night, thanking Mima more than once for thinking up the block party. From the day we entered our mother's house, they prepared us for the day that we would leave it. I was the first when I left to go away to medical school. Then Will left to study engineering, and our Millie went all the way to New York to become a fashion designer. Of course, our hearts never left our mother's house, and over the years, Will, Millie, and I returned to be married in the garden back under the thistle house. We celebrated holidays together there, sang at birthday parties there, cried together when we lost our grandparents. When the three of us had our babies, all of them took their first steps in front of that clinker brick fireplace in the living room. They fell into the waiting arms of their grandmothers, just as we had done. We watched our mothers grow old together in that house. They passed away within a year of each other. Will, Millie, and I placed them together in a green hillside overlooking the bay, very near the place where they pledged their love to each other so many years ago. Will and his family live in our mother's house now. We were so pleased that it did not go to a stranger and is still a gathering place for all of us and our families. The walls still whisper our mother's names. All of our hearts find peace whenever we are there, not only remembering them, but being there together in our mother's house.
Today's reading about mothers was written by UU minister Maureen Killoran. Rehearsing this reading made me think of my own mother, Margaret Mary Martha McGahigan. She died 22 years ago at age 91. She was a wonderful mother. I am dedicating this little reading to her memory. Let us tell stories of mothers, stories that could be true. Let us tell of warm mothers, soft and round, likely to be found with flour on their nose and always ready to pour you a glass of milk to go with the cookies on your plate. These mothers are increasingly rare. Let us tell of mothers who are like bubbles of champagne. They surprise your senses, leave you giggly, but when you least expect it, they erupt with an unexpected pop. Stories that could be true. Then there are grouchy mothers, stressed mothers, exhausted mothers, faces lined with worry, and their spirits are tired and gray. Other mothers are wise and reliable, not prone to many words or to a lot of noise, but you know that when you need them, they'll be there for you. Let us tell of fierce mothers, the ones who love you even when you know you're wrong. Let us also tell of absent mothers whose memory shimmers at the edges of your heart. Let us tell of distant mothers, cruel mothers, loving mothers, giving mothers. There are walk-away mothers, save the world mothers, too busy mothers, mothers you cry because you lost them, and mothers who make you cry because you can't. Stories that could be true. May we hold in our hearts the mothers we have known, those who loved us, and those who tried to love us. May we forgive the mothers who didn't get it right and tried to release any knots of disappointment, anger, grief, or pain that may remain. May we hold in our hearts the truth that mothering, nurturing, is a task that belongs to all of us. However old or young you are, whatever your gender, you may make extra room for nurturing in your life this week. May you say something real to a harried store clerk, give a coworker a genuine compliment, take time to listen deeply to a friend. In our shared silence, may we remember and reflect and create anew the stories of love and nurture from this point forward, stories that can be true.
Thank you, Bill. I am lighting this candle in recognition of all of the joys and sorrows that our members may be carrying, which we're not able to share together right now. But as a community, we wish to continue to hold you in all the times of your joys and sorrows. Let us take a few moments of silence and meditation. Thank you.
Today's special collection is for the Tom Galloway Scholarship Fund. I've been a member here for so long that I knew and remember Tom Galloway. We have a short video to explain the Tom Galloway Scholarship Fund.
Our special collection this Sunday is for the Tom Galloway Memorial Scholarship Fund. Tom, who passed away in the year 2000, was a president of our board. Also, he was an African American. Tom was a marketing executive at Kraft Foods, and I learned taught at the College of DuPage. Tom and his family started an unnamed fund in 1999 to provide small stipends to African American students at the College of DuPage. These were amounts of money to solve relatively small problems to help low-income students so they could concentrate on their studies. Typical help was access to computers, textbooks, and emergency trips home for family issues. After Tom died, this congregation's board renamed the fund the Tom Galloway Memorial Scholarship Fund. We have supported this fund since 1999. To date, 20 students have benefited from the fund. An example is a young man named Samuel Franklin. A recipient of the fund, Samuel graduated from the College of DuPage with an associate's degree in exercise science, and then earned a bachelor's degree in science from Elmhurst College. Today, Samuel runs his own company, Sam Franklin Basketball LLC, which has more than 80 clients.
Thank you, Neil, for your comments last year, providing background about our annual Tom Galloway Special Collection. This year, College of DuPage awarded its 21st Tom Galloway Foundation Scholarship to LaRondia Powell. I guarantee you that I will utilize this scholarship blessing in an appropriate and successful manner, she says. This scholarship award means more to me than anyone could imagine, that another thought enough of me to allow me to continue my education that I so desperately want to excel in. I enjoy helping others and chose human services as my field of study. I will be able to help and encourage others that someone out there cares about them, as the Tom Galloway Foundation showed that they cared about me. I plan on transferring to Lewis University as I am working toward my bachelor degree in human services. I am forever grateful for your kindness, LaRondia says. Our contributions this month will help allow another student realize his or her dreams. Thank you in advance for your generosity to one of our very special collections, one that is directly aligned with our church history, our values, and our positive impact to people in the wider community. Thank you.
Today is Mother's Day, when we take time every year to honor, remember, and send out our love to all of the wonderful mothers here and everywhere. Let's start with a short bit of history. Mother's Day in our country was first proposed by the Unitarian author and activist Julia Ward Howe. You may know her as the person who wrote the Battle Hymn of the Republic, an abolitionist and suffragette and a literary figure. Her famous Mother's Day proclamation was a call to peace rather than a call to arms, encouraging the mothers of the world to band together and protest wars and the loss of the lives of their soldier sons. That seems so apropos. Across all time and many species, mothers have protected their families from all manner of toils and snares. The first relationship each of us ever had was to influence us in how we would approach all other relationships that came after. There is much to be learned from that. For many of us, it is an opportunity to remember someone who selflessly spent a couple of decades at least taking care of us. For some of us, it is a bittersweet day as we remember mothers who are now gone. And for others, it is perhaps a less pleasant day because relationships with their mothers were fraught with difficulties. And finally, some of us look forward to celebrating on this day people who may not have been our biological mothers, but who played the role of mother figure in our lives. Someone in your past was a nurturer. Someone was an advisor. Someone was a person who cared when it seemed that no one else did. I've always loved these words by Erma Bombeck. When your mother asks, "Do you want a piece of advice?" it is a mere formality. It doesn't matter if you answer yes or no, you're going to get it anyway. Who is a mother? There are some in our society who strongly profess their belief in the sanctity of the nuclear family. The stereotype is a firm father, a soft mother, and 2.5 kids. So few of our families actually look like that. In my own family, for example, I have a mother and 2 fathers. I also have 4 siblings, 1 deceased, 2 in lesbian relationships, 1 is straight and unmarried with no plans to change that status, and myself who was in a long-term gay relationship. Also, 2 of my sisters grew up in a different country on the other side of the world, Spain. Neither I nor any of my siblings have had any children. Quite plainly, we are not a nuclear family. But it is also true to say, and very important to me, that regardless of the type of family we have developed over the years, my mother and I have always been very close. I ask again, who is a mother? We have many young parents in our congregation with kids that know each other from our RE program. Other mothers here are at a point in their lives when their children have grown up and gone off to live their own separate lives. Who is a mother? There are children in our congregation who don't see their mothers every day for a number of reasons. Some don't have biological mothers in their lives at all. There are some who have 2 fathers. There are also some who have 2 mothers. There are some whose mother figure is not even a woman. And there are some children in our congregation who have multiple people in their lives that they look to as they would a mother. Some are blessed with much, and others are challenged by having less. While I realize that some people have had difficult relationships with their mothers, I hope that most people find within them gratitude for their own lives brought forth by their parents. To find gratitude for life's lessons, even the hard ones or the difficult lessons taught to one by our families, and especially as taught to one at mother's knee. I'm reminded of the words of Pearl S. Buck, who once wittily declared, "Some mothers are kissing mothers and some are scolding mothers, but it is love just the same, and most mothers kiss and scold together. I invite you to contemplate what you may be thankful for in regards to your mother as we listen to a choral ensemble of children from our congregation singing a blessing.
May joy and peace surround you, contentment at your door, and happiness be with you both now and evermore. May joy and peace surround you, contentment at your door. Happiness be with you both now and evermore. May joy and peace surround you, contentment at your door, and happiness be with you both now and
That was very sweet. Thank you to our children. That was Oliver, Gil, and Ellie. And thank you, Tony, for directing them. Thank you also for all the mothers who brought them here to do that delightful thing. I started this sermon by saying that our first relationship in life was to influence us in the conduct of all relationships that come after, from early childhood through retirement. We learn about life's challenges and mechanisms for coping with them. We received advice from mom whether we wanted it or not. We learned how to be in a family, how to be in a community, how to treat other people, and how to expect to be treated too. We learned what a relationship with another person was like, and maybe we learned the pitfalls to avoid. For most people, Mother taught us how to care and be cared for in the give and take that is relationship, that is life. Most of us learned the rules that Mom laid down for us. Don't hurt someone, don't take their toys, don't touch inappropriately, don't fib or tell tall tales, and most of all, be responsible. This is the best of what mothers provide us and is something for which we can be grateful. It seems to me that these early childhood lessons are the foundation of our society and the basis for our whole lives, which are relational in their very basic nature. I'd like to invite you to take a moment, in a moment, and think back upon your life and about people in your life who nurtured you, who were as a mother to you. This person may have been your biological mother, or it may have been someone else. What gifts did this person bring to your life? What wisdom did she share with you? What care did she provide you with in a time of trials and tribulations in your life? Let's take a moment to think about this. Thank you. Who is a mother? And was that person always the person you needed her to be? Over the years, I've had occasion to sit and talk with many people about their family histories. I'm not talking about anyone in particular here at all, I just mean in general. And talking with people about their family histories, it has become clear to me that some people have reason to feel conflicted about their past relationships with parents. I could go on to talk about Mommy Dearest or paint a picture of you lying on a couch while a Freudian therapist asks you to tell him about your mother. These little memes gain traction in our society because the people about whom we say them have had such a profound effect on our lives. There's a thought. Even if one's memories are such that you'd like to trade them in for better models, one's parents still have had a profound effect on your life, my life, everyone's lives. So whether your relationship with your mother was a lifelong challenge, or if there was just some little thing about which you're still bothered, then why don't we take some time today to let some of that go? It seems to me that being a parent must be a never-ending effort, full of thousands of decisions to be made day by day, with really no end in sight. Any human being from any culture may take great joy in being a parent, but may also find it to be a lifetime of challenges. It has often been said our parents were simply doing the best they could with the tools at their disposal at that time. Bearing that in mind, let's take a few moments to think back at the baggage we each still carry. Think about those times when we wish things had gone differently. If there was something from the long-distant past, some disagreement with your mother, let's consider that as we look at it through the lens of many years of life that have occurred since then. You are not the same person now as you were then. Let's recognize that all of the challenges that our mothers must have faced and consider what tools they may have had at their disposal back then. As you think about that, think about how you can let it go. We each face challenges in life, and the decisions that we make are never easy. That was true for our mothers as it is for us. Let's take another moment now to think on this. Thank you. Albert Ellis wrote that the best years of your life are the ones in which you decide your problems are your own. You do not blame them on your mother, the ecology, or even the president. You realize that you control your own destiny. I believe that mothers brought us into the world, although not always in ways consistent with the stereotype of the nuclear family I mentioned earlier. Mothers of all kinds affect our lives, offering the encouraging word just when it is needed. Over the course of our lives, we have each been nurtured by someone, and today is a day to honor them for doing so. So let us return to the present day. Let us think about all of the mothers that we know now. Maybe she's the person sitting next to you. Maybe I'm looking at Becky and Kelly. Maybe she's the person sitting next to you. Maybe she is the mother of your grandchildren. Maybe she is your next door neighbor. I encourage you to reach out to her today, to honor her sacrifices, and to express gratitude to her for being a mother of the next generation. I will go so far as to say, I believe that motherhood is sacred. If we go back to the dawn of time, at least as humans understand it, we see that mothers have always held a sacred role in all cultures. If we go back even further and look to the animal kingdom and across most species, we still see that mothers have always been someone sacred. Definitions of motherhood vary greatly around the world, and my personal definition is not nearly so rigid as that of perhaps some more conservative folks. But regardless of how one may define a mother, mothers are special. Let's honor them today. May it ever be so, and blessed be you all. Again, I invite you to join your voices in song. Our closing hymn is Love Knocks and Waits for Us to Hear. It is number 1029 in the Teal hymnal.
Love knocks and waits for us to hear, to open and invite. Love longs to quiet every fear and seeks to set things right. Love offers life in spite of foes who threaten and condemn. Embracing enemies, love goes the second mile with them. Love comes to heal the broken heart, to ease the troubled mind. Without a word, love bids us start to ask and seek and find. Love knocks and enters at the sound of welcome from within. Love sings and dances all around and feels new life begin.
Dear mothers among us, bless you for the gifts of life you have given and the sacrifices you have made for others. For mothers who are far away or long ago departed, let us be mindful of the blessings they brought into the lives of each one of us. And for any difficulties in years past, let us be mindful of the challenges our mothers provided so that we would learn and grow. Let us be grateful and celebrate motherhood on this beautiful spring day. Blessed be, and thank you.